I think this is the perfect time for independence, Black independence, to pick up, get together, a studio, unite under one banner, and make a mark in this business.
The cat on the fiddle. The cat on the fiddle is jamming with his buddies in the band. Getting down with the cats in the band.
Now don't forget a loaf of bread, a container of milk, and a stick of butter. If you can't remember, I'll write it down for you.
That's okay, Mommy. I won't forget. I'll remember. A loaf of bread, a container of milk, and a stick of butter. I'm 6. I'm 6 years old today. Yay!
Get a little bowl of vegetable soup. Come on along and join our delicious soup. Come on along, we're gonna have some fun. Come on along and join our delicious soup. Get a little bowl of vegetable soup.
Hello, this is Deborah Anderson, the Black Woman Animator, coming back to you with another video. And in this video, I have Jim Simon. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you.
Can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Okay, I'm Jim Simon. I don't know how many years I've been in the business, but in the 70s, I would have to say that I'm a self-made animator, producer, director, designer, and painter, and some everything in the arts.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, you're from Darlington, South Carolina, and you also grew up in New York City. How was it growing up, and what is your origin story?
I was born here in Darlington, where I'm at now. I'm still in my little hometown. I returned. And my childhood was spending the summers working on my uncle's dad's farm, which I enjoyed very much. And some people say, "Oh, boy, you pick cotton." Yes, I did. You rode the horses through the tobacco field? Yes, I did. Did you crop tobacco? Yes, I did. And proud of it. And it was a happy childhood, better than most, I believe. Because I had the camper and I had no problems and no complaints. And from there, we moved. My mother got divorced and we moved to New York City, Harlem. Matter of fact, 119th Street, still remember. And from there, we moved to the Lower East Side of Manhattan, which I spent most of my childhood because in the housing projects, 60th Avenue D, right on the corner. I won't forget, and I won't forget. It was a beautiful childhood. I had lots of friends, all interracial, Mexican, Jewish, Spanish, we call them in New York. And I was a all type of sports guy. And I was a boys club guy, which I found in the home because my mother worked out of the house. Without a father, I was a latchkey kid. But I took to sports and I found sports to be my home. I was a boxing champion, wrestling champion, track star in junior high school, and all around sports guy. When I played football, even though I was the smallest guy on the team, I was the most valuable player. I had got the most valuable player's jacket, which I wasn't surprised because I was the most valuable player. I was too fast for those guys because I didn't want them to hit me.
Right.
But anyway, that led me to the boys club. Boys club was up on 10th Street and Avenue A. There was an after-school center where boys go of all ages and nationalities, and they join little clubs and whatnot. They have all types of sports in the club. So the director of the club used to see me coming every day, and he says, where's your homework? I don't have no homework. He said, yes, you do. Everybody gets homework. You're not going to come into the club and play basketball and box and all that until you finish your homework. Every day after school, you come to my office and I'm going to supervise you doing your homework, which I did. So he kind of like became my surrogate father.
Mm-hmm.
He made sure I did my homework before I did any sports in the boys club. And I became the intermediate director, and then I became the senior director. They wanted me to work for him because I very familiar with the club and the workings of the club. So one day I was, after school, they had a dentist there. And I was sitting down waiting for my turn for the dental, and the director of some type of educational director. He came by and he says, "What you got there?" I said, "Some artwork I was drawing." He said, "Let me see." So I showed him. He says, "It's pretty good." So you the best in your class? I said, "Yeah, I'm the best in the class." He said, "Really?" He said, "Bring me 5 letters from your teachers telling me you're the best in the class." I said, "Oh, what did I go and do?" So I went, that's when I was going to high school of art and design. So I got my 5 letters, and they gave me a scholarship, a junior oral scholarship, and which was a financial thing that I get every month for understanding. And that enabled me, while I was going to the high school of art and design, to borrow my art supplies, and I didn't have to shoplift them. I purchased them outright, and it was great.
Right.
So between the boys club scholarship and a little working at the candy store on the side, I was making more money than my mother was making.
Dang.
At my age at that time. So I was self-sufficient, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I skipped a little bit. Let me see. Anyway, I got at the High School of Art and Design, I was taking cartooning. And the instructor, I still remember his name, Dr. Charles Allen. He was a black guy.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "You're too good for this class. We have an animation camera in the back, and we're making an anniversary film. While the class is doing their classwork, I want you to work the camera and shoot whatever he asked me to shoot on it. Big Oxford animation cameras. I learned how to work that, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was envious of all the kids doing all their artwork and the different projects that they were doing. So when I would go home, I would do the artwork that they were doing in class, and I would bring it back, and it was better than what they were doing. So naturally, when I graduated, I got the award for excellence in animation, and at the same time, I had a Julius Epson Memorial Scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
which and I took the entry exam for the School of Visual Arts, and they gave me a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem was when I got to visual arts, I majored in, I thought I wanted film. I wanted a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
So when I actually got into class, they were directing and actors and lighting and cameras and editing. I said, I want to draw. I don't want to push a button and 1 minute you got a minute of film. I want to hand labor that thing.
Right.
I told them that I don't want to be in this class, and I went to the dean, and they said, "Well, you have to wait a semester and go into the animation." So I did that, and I finally got into the animation course. And here again, I was doing the class work, and the instructor came up to me and says, "You're too good for this class because everybody, you're just too good for the class."
Mm-hmm.
There's a woman at Paramount Cartoon Studios, which did animated shorts for the feature films that were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Why don't you go and apply for that? Because if you could get that, you could get in the animation business." So I went down, and I see about 30 kids lined up to be interviewed. And I said, "Oh my God." So I took the interview, and lo and behold, they called me back, and I was hired.
Mm-hmm.
But I was hired as a background painter. I said, "I don't want to paint backgrounds." But I learned how to paint backgrounds. So they put me in the background department. And the guy, I was his protege assistant. I learned how to paint the background, this and that, the other. But meanwhile, I look over and I see everybody animating and imaging. And I went to the director, which was Ralph Basham.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "I want to get into animation, man." She says, "Well, you have to do something. We start in an apprentice in between class. And why don't you take that?" So I did that, and I learned the in-between thing. lo and behold, I got initiated into the union after 6 months.
Nice.
And to my surprise, they closed the studio. Paramount Cartoon Studios closed, and I was without a job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Kind of like a week after I got initiated into the union. This was fun. I said, how do I get a job now? Well, I didn't go look for a job.
Right.
So anyway, I got a job in some little art place, and I heard about Ralph Bakshi coming back with an animated TV series called Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one thing about when I was working at Paramount, after we found out they were closing the studio, they started laying people off. And there was no one left but Ralph Bakshi and myself. And I had free time, so I was just doing. And Ralph came in and said, "What you doing?" I said, "I'm designing some characters." He says, "Let me see." So come up on the wall. I had about 15 characters I designed.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Wow, I like to buy these." I said, "Really?" I said, "No." So I hemmed and hawed, and it was time to go home. So I found out that he wasn't going to buy them because I couldn't sleep. So I was the first one in the studio, and I went in the studio and took my characters down off the wall. And he came in and said, "You're gonna sell the character? Y'all want to buy it?" I said, "I'm out of here." And I left. And that's when I found myself without a job and not knowing how to find a job.
Mm-hmm.
He came back to town. Now we're up to the Spider-Man TV series.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Ralph Bakshi know me, but even though we didn't leave on good terms, he knew that I can animate and I can draw and all that stuff." So I went to and asked for a job, and he said, "Okay, I'll put you in the in-between department." So they put me all the way in the back in the corner in the dark. And all the animators found out that I was fast and I could clean up their work to make it look good, better than what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody had the folders. They always try to set the folders up because you go up and take the folders off the shelf, and that's what you do your in-betweens on. Everybody wanted me to do their in-betweens.
Mm-hmm.
So it got to a point where one night I went home and I had a concept that I wanted to, because I could paint backgrounds. I painted the background, then I designed the characters, and I put them on cells, and I brought it in for the guys to take a look. And everybody went, "Wow, wow, wow." And then Ralph Bakshi heard about it. He said, "Oh, wow, what?" He called me into his office. He said, "What's everybody talking about?" I said, "I did something at home, and I just brought it in and showed the guys, and they liked it." So let me see. He said, "Well, here again." He said, "You designed this on while you was working for the studio, so it's ours." I said, "No, it's not yours." He said, "No, it's ours." He said, "You go think about it." So I went back to my desk, and I didn't have to think at all. I just packed my bags. And as I walked out, he was in a meeting with Steve Krantz, which was the owner of the studio. So I gave him both the finger and said, "Adios, amigos. Here I am, found a job again." So that's when Sesame Street was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Sesame Street, and I said, "Wow." I saw the little cartoons that they were doing for Sesame Street. I said, "That's cool. I thought, maybe I could do that." So I designed 5 storyboards in the Sesame Street vein, and I took it up to them, and I walked out with a contract for 4 films. Oh my God. How do I make a film? I have a contract for 5 films. I have to produce and direct it. I did the storyboards already, so they bought the storyboards. I have to turn this into film. Plus, I had a deadline. Deadline for these films because they're going to appear on TV. So, yeah. Anyway, so I learned the hard way, and I think it was the grace of God. I got these films. And, one of my first films was A Loaf of Bread, A Container of Milk, and a Stick of Butter.
Mm-hmm.
That was the very first film I animated, and I took it step by step. I laid it out. I just animated it, and I did all the in-betweens, and inked and painted it, and the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
After I finished one step, by the grace of God, I was led to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And had to select actors' voices, and I didn't know any actors' voices. So I said, "Well, this is about a little girl. So I have a niece, my brother's daughter. She could be the voice, and her mother could be the mother do the mother's voice."
Mm-hmm.
They came into the recording studio. I paid them very well, and
Mm-hmm.
They were the boys from A Loaf of Bread, A Container of Milk, and a Stick of Butter. And just so happened that that film won a lot of awards. So I consider my very first film that I animated was my film. I thank God made it.
And everybody know that one.
Oh, thank you. And from that, Sesame Street says, I've been doing a lot of work for Sesame Street. So they said, wow, you should go upstairs and work for the electric. I mean, because they have better budgets. They sent me upstairs and I started animating, producing, directing things for them. There also was a number of award-winning films. Hey Little Diddle, Champion Camp. There's so many films I forgot. Anyway, in between that, the New York Public Library contacted me to animate a public service spot, which I did. That tells you about the power of animation, because after I did it, and it was shown on TV, it used to come on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the kids get out of school. And at the end of the commercial, it says, to get your magic card. I called it a magic card because they wanted the kids to get a library card. So I called it a magic card. Inside the card, all these things was happening. Books, recordings, and everything. So anyway, the kids used to come home and saw the commercial and they all dialed that number and it tied up the lines in Midtown. So the library asked me to change the ending to say, go to your nearest branch library to get your magic card. So that's the power of animation. I realized that that's why they keep us out. Power. And it's very hard to get backings to do films. But anyway, so to make a long story short, I won a lot of awards as an independent animator. And a lot of people think I got an office on Madison Avenue, 250 Madison Avenue. And I got me a red phone because I won 7 out of 15 CFO awards. So I didn't win all those awards the year before, man. He had commercials coming out of the yin yang. I said, well, so this year, because I won all the awards, 7 out of 15, I'm going to get all those commercials, all quality of them anyway. Man, I walked the streets. I went up to the advertising agencies. Yes, they called people in to look at my films, but I didn't get any contracts. So this ain't right, man. The guy before, I think his name Phil Kimmerman and Associates and Jack Sanders and Associates and all that stuff. They get all these commercials for $100,000, and I'm on Sesame Street, $2,500 or something. Right now, I'm leaving the Big Apple. So one day I went home and I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna go to California and get settled, and I'll send for you guys. So she said, no, you're not. We're all going together. I said, we can't take 4 kids to California. I don't know nobody. I don't know where I'm going. So we stopped in South Carolina here, and I left my kids with my uncle. I left 3 of the kids, and we took the youngest with us. Got off the airplane, and she said, where do we go? I said, oh, damn if I know. I said, taxi driver, take me to downtown California Holiday Inn. That's all I know. So I look out the window, and I see these buildings. I said, wow, because we came in on the Midnight Express. So the next morning I look out, I see concrete, and I said, where are the palm trees? This looked like New York to me.
Right.
So anyway, I had to rent a car, and I didn't know which was north, east, south, or west. And I got settled and purchased a home and swimming pool and all that. My kids made quick friends because we had a swimming pool in the neighborhood. So it had nothing to do with black and white because we was only blacks in the neighborhood. They had all white friends. We had a swimming pool, I guess. But anyway, it was great. And I had a blast and they had a blast. And they led me to a lot of freelance work. I was making very, very good money. Then opened up my studio on Lancashire Boulevard. I was still doing independent work and still had aspirations of setting up an animation studio in Los Angeles. So I was living in Studio City and got my little office and had 1 or 2 contracts left. And I did a commercial for Foley's. The Foley's help you could do anything, which appeared to a friend of mine, a Jewish fellow, and he had very good contacts. And they didn't even want to open a bank account for me. So he had to sign for me to open a bank account. Then when I gave him the check, I had to send my wife back to New York to cash the check.
Oh, wow.
This is California. I don't know if I like it or not. But anyway, we got settled and I learned the ropes. And my friend name was Abe Lander. He was a Jewish friend. And, he had a yacht. He took me out on his yacht. My kids was on the yacht. We had a blast. At the same time, I said, well, this is nice going on the yachts and you take me out to nice restaurants and all this stuff. But I got a family to support. I have to stop all this and get busy. And that's when I opened my little place up. One day, 5 guys come into my office. 5 gentlemen came in. I said, "You're Jim Simon?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Jim Simon." I said, "We're from Bic Enterprises." I said, "Really?" I heard of D because you guys own TV. Everything you turn around is from Bic Enterprises.
Right.
Well, they said, "We have an offer for you." And I said, "What's that?" They said, "We want you to run the studio." So what do you mean run the studio? We want you to, it's chaotic. We're on Ventura Boulevard. They gave me the address. And we need you to get things straightened out. I said, "Okay, I can do that." So I was the guy in charge of hiring and firing at Bic Enterprises on Ventura Boulevard. And during that time, I met a gentleman by the name of Fred Parent. He was the producer for the Jackson 5, one of the producers for the Jackson 5. He had a studio right across the street. So we became friends, and that time I still didn't want to give up me trying to do an independent production. I had a little bit of money from all the freelance I was doing. I said, let me finance my own self, which I'm told you never do. But I did. And I had people lined up every Friday coming to get their checks. So I got a big check from Deacon and had to cut it up for all these other people doing all my ink and painting, mostly ink and painting and whatnot. We finally finished that film. But at the same time, running deep, they wanted me to go overseas as overseas supervisor, which meant that I had to leave California. They said, "We need somebody to go over to Japan and supervise the production over there. And you're the guy." I said, "Okay." So I left that. And, you take 5 people, or 5 or 7, 9, whatever. Anyway, I took a group of guys with me. And I supervised that and ran the studio and whatnot. Then we came back and they wanted me to go again, but just by myself, which I did. Then I came back and then they said, "We want you to go to Canada. We're having problems in Canada." So I went to Canada. I forgot the name of the studio. So I got them back on track and I came back. One day they said, the president called me, and Andy Hayward called me into his office and says, "I'm interviewing people to be the president of BIC. We're moving to Burbank." I says, "Okay." And he read off a lot of credentials. I sat back and I listened. I said, "I have all those credentials." He said, "That's what I thought, Jim. You're definitely being considered to be the president of BIC." I said, "Wow." So then they wanted me to go back to Canada. And I said, "If I'm being in and running to be president of BIC, why do you want me to go back to Canada? Matter of fact, not only that, it's Christmas time.
Right.
And I'm not leaving my family." And so I just sensed that things wasn't right. The vibes wasn't right. So what did Jim Simon do? Packed his bags and left. That was it. I left BIC. Never worked for another studio after that. Time that I was over at Soulmation, they were doing the Fed Hour thing, and they had a segment called Brown Hornet. And they needed a character design for the Brown Hornet and a group of characters. I got called in for that, and I worked my way out of the job because I did it so quick. Hey, design a character, that's right up my alley. That's my thing doing. So I designed the Brown Hornet, I designed Twitter, and I designed the other characters that go in the little segment. I think in 1 or 2 weeks, I was out of there. I said, "Why did I do that so quick?" I just can't help myself. designing characters come very easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I made a character, they ain't nothing characters. So I'm gonna just, I came in contact one time. I was thinking, I went to a crab house on my break. There was a black guy sitting at the crab house, which was super odd. And anyway, we got to talking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one black guy to the other, what you do, man? I said, I'm in animation, what you do? He said, I'm a radio disc jockey. I said, really? I said, I know a cartoon that'll sell like hotcakes. I said, Soul Train, because I have the talent, but I don't have the connections.
Mm-hmm.
He said, connections? I know. You need connections? I know Don Canese. I said, really? So yeah, I introduced you to him. He said, is that right? So I said, okay. So I gave him my number and he gave me his number. I'm waiting for this call to meet Don Canese, invitation anyway. And never came. So anyway, I designed some characters. And I got the address of Don Canese's office in Sunset Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
I told my son, deliver this package to Don Canese's office and just leave it there and tell him to give it to him. Before my son got home, I get a call. Hello, motherfucker. You Jim Simon? I said, yeah. You designed these characters? Yeah. So what do you want from me? I said, I don't want anything from you. I just want the opportunity to work with you to see if we can develop a Soul Train cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yeah, well, come on in, let's talk about it. So the next day I went up, Beverly Hills, they had this office and right on the corner of Sunset. So I went up there and we became friends and partners, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Not partners, talking partners to develop this cartoon. So I got invited to a lot of Soul Train awards and backstage and all that. And year one passed, year two passed, and I'm going in and out of the country. So every time I go out of the country, I supervise a TV show in Japan, Korea, Thailand, China, wherever.
Mm-hmm.
I come back and me and John hook up again and we get excited again and then I have to go out of the country. So I tell you what, I'm not going out of the country anymore. So I told all the independents that I'm not going overseas as a supervisor anymore. They got wind that Don Canese and I was developing this cartoon. So that cut out all my freelance work.
Mm-hmm.
Depended on Don Canese and myself. So we spent a couple of years developing this thing, and I designed it as looked like Win and Stimpy. I designed it to look like that, and I designed it to look like that. And I said, Don, throw it. The first design that I made, it looked like Jim Simon's designs.
Mm-hmm.
So he called some of his workers in and spread them out and asked them, which one do you like the best? And they selected the one that I did.
Mm-hmm.
My designs, Jim Simon designs. So make a long story short, I finally got him to invest some money in making a 5-minute promo.
Mm-hmm.
And we got toward the end of making that promo. That long story short, it ended up himself. So that killed that project, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired because I tried to do this thing many different ways, working independently when I was had my own studio on Ventura Boulevard and whatnot when I was in New York. Now I'm in California, Tinseltown, and still couldn't do it. Still couldn't get brothers and sisters to help me out and whatnot.
Yeah.
They charged me more than they charged Disney. So I said, that ain't right. So anyway, I threw up my hands and I left the business.
Mm-hmm.
And haven't been back.
I feel like, you know, right now is a time where a lot of young people are seeing the landscape of the animation industry and thinking about doing more independent work. Can you talk about like what were the lows that kind of prevented sustained success in independent? What do people have to think about?
To be independent is, well, when I did it on a hope and a prayer, and I did it because I won a lot of awards, and I felt that my talent would take me to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
It takes more than talent; it takes contacts.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know contacts, and it takes collaboration from others to help you out because you can't do it by yourself. Animation is not a one-person band, even though I did it as a one-person band. It was very difficult. got to be willing to stay up days and nights, Saturdays and Sundays. And your time is not your time. Because you don't have time. Your time is the love of animation. First of all, you have to, foremost, you have to love what you're doing. If you don't love it, don't try it, because you're not going to make it. Because there's a lot of bumps in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you have to be willing to take the bumps and take the lumps. And a lot of things you're not going to believe is happening to you. And a lot of people that you thought that you could depend on, you cannot depend on them.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to have enough talent to pick up the slack, whoever's slacking. Whether it's in ink and painting, whether it's in designing, whether it's in doing the layouts, whether it's animating, or doing in-betweening, you have to be able to do it all. And do it professionally and do it well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have your talent to back you up, I don't think you should try it. Or unless you have contacts and you have financial backing, you can try it. That's
Mm-hmm.
a possibility. You have to believe in your project. I think this is the perfect time for independence, Black independence, to pick up, get together,
Mm-hmm.
a studio, unite under one banner, and make a mark in this business.
Yeah.
Sick and tired of seeing these feature films come out with Black colorations. It's still missing something that only Black people can give. And that's in the designs. And that's in the animation.
Mm-hmm.
Black animators animating. There's
Yeah.
things that I animated that you look at it and you said, whoa, I believe that's a Black person.
Yeah.
So
Because we can tell.
you don't just color it Black, you have to feel it.
Yeah.
When the Black animator get into animating things on their own and feeling it. Because I believe in Soulmation.
Mm-hmm.
We call it animation. I call it Soulmation. You have to
Nice.
put soul in your character that you're animating. You have to believe that character, become that character, and then you can animate that character.
Yeah.
Made in with feeling.
What's funny is that among the younger people now, so that Black American and African American have kind of been co-opted by other people who come to the country, and so somebody on social media created a term for Black Americans who came from like being enslaved, and it's called Soul Line. So it's like Soul African American Nation. So that's kind of funny that you have Soulmation. Because that soul is important of the Black American experience.
That it is. Without it, you don't have a Soulmation.
And I think because something you said about like the people you were trying to collaborate with trying to charge you more than like Disney, I think that's a big thing where like white people and their peers will be willing to do stuff for free.
Yes.
But then when we try to collaborate, it's like, I understand that we're always trying to make it, but like we have to collaborate for free sometimes or
Absolutely.
less, but we're less willing to do it.
I hope we learn that lesson, and the young people of today seize the opportunity right now to start independent studios.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's a small studio, but all of you have to be willing to roll up your sleeves, do the best foot forward. Sometimes when I hired our people, they didn't do their best on my work. And I can tell that's terrible. I think if you get the opportunity to collaborate with a Black independent, you should go above and beyond the call of duty and do the best you can for that person, because it's the future of animation. And I would like to say and see the future of animation with not all these Disney's, I came up against it. I went to the same people Disney went. I went to the same people DIC went to, but I had the nerve to go up against them.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get somebody out there with some balls and go ahead and put together a studio.
Yeah.
They're afraid of, like I'm saying, well, that's difficult because once people know you got a studio and you're trying to make a mark, you don't get hired anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You get blacklisted, so to speak. And when young people with families, and they think about that, I understand. But that's a chance you take, because you believe in the project that you're working on. And with all these independent stations they have now, BET and all, BET is on back. That's a terrible thing, but anyway. I remember when Bob Johnson, Don Cornelius, and I was going to do something together. Never happened because I won't go into that.
What I also noticed is like, because this happens in multiple spaces, but I had worked in the Urban League space when I lived in New Orleans. And, you know, when you say give your best, like sometimes, you know, Black people will give the gold to the white people and give the coal to the fellow Black people.
That's it. That's it. Hopefully we learn our lessons.
One day.
Well, I hope tomorrow. No, I don't. Day is the time.
We got to trade them up in the way that they should go.
That's it. Boy. But animation is such a business that, you know, it's difficult to depend on just yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's a time-consuming process.
And
I don't know the way out of the land now, but I think you would know better than I.
Mm-hmm.
Are there enough people to get together a United Black studio?
I mean, if like there's so many groups right now where every 5 seconds somebody's talking about getting together. So like I had the pleasure of being, you know, friends with Leo Sullivan before he passed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had brought a group of Black animation people together, and I felt like he was like, here we go again. Like people say this all the time. There's a bunch of Black people, let's get together. But I actually it wasn't a studio, but I kind of kept it going. And so he kind of was like, all right, she got something going. So I feel like I won in impressing Leo Sullivan before he died.
Well, he had the same thing going when I had my studio down the street on Lancashire.
Mm-hmm.
They had something going with Motown.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody told me about it. Nobody invited me, but it didn't happen. It could have happened with a name like Motown. That's why I went to Don Cornelius.
Yeah.
Out there who the people are not scared to give a check to for a couple of $1 million.
Right.
Because they have the experience and they see it, like Don Cornelius, 35 years on TV. Hey, come on, what kind of better partner can a Black guy get? And I had it.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about your experience going to different studios and getting them in shape. Can you talk about what you did? Like, because as somebody, you know, I've been in the animation industry for maybe 13 years, but I've only been in LA for 4 years, and I only been working in the Hollywood animation industry for like 2 years. But I can already see, like, you know, the reputation that we fail our way to the end of a TV show or to a movie. It's very disorganized. So what would you do to kind of get them in shape when you would go to these different studios and kind of fix things?
Well, just like you said, it was disorganized.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was getting it organized.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the different departments, the head of the department to run his department. I remember when I first went to DIC, I had my little group, and we used to finish our work on Thursdays. So on Fridays, we went to the park to play football and had lunch together. And I told them, after lunch, you guys can go home because we made our deadlines and we're finished. Yeah. And that word got around, so they put a stop to that. Taking your group out like that, Jim. I said, we finished our work. What are we going to do? But all the other guys was late with their projects. So that's what the problem that I had to solve was getting them to meet the deadlines and the schedules. When you get a script, there's a certain amount of backgrounds that have to be created. There's a certain props that have to be created. Coloration, all the characters have to be color marked up, and whatnot, and etc. Just getting everybody organized where they do their work and stop throwing airplanes through the air. And work. You're paid to do a job and do the job.
Right.
But you want to come there to work. You don't want to come there to play.
Right.
That's the main thing was getting it organized. I was always fortunate because I was fast. I remember the time working on the Spider-Man TV series. I was that time when I was an assistant animator working in the back in the corner in the dark. I used to turn out so much assistant animation, I was making more money than the animators. So every Friday, I didn't even have to look at my check. I knew they was wrong because after you reach a certain amount, you get paid by the foot. And you know how much footage you did, and you add that up, they paid you $2 extra per foot, you know, over your minimum.
Right.
You know what your salary is. March back, and animators used to get mad after they found out that I was making more money than them.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I created my little thing and walked out of the studio. So I didn't know the repercussions of that. But
Yeah, I experienced that before. Where I was working at Turbo Squid in New Orleans, and we were out. That was like animation adjacent, but we like artists from around the world would submit their 3D models, and we would certify them for their certification program, so that different studios, some who are willing to be named, some who aren't willing to be named, would use the 3D models in their work. And so they would certify them to be like, all right, these will open properly and these will be nice and stuff like that. So when I first started, I was like kind of grinding out the certification or the inspections or whatever. And then I guess people were taking too long. And so that they made an Excel spreadsheet where they're like, all right, each time you do a inspection, put it on there. And I didn't realize how much I was outworking everybody else until we started putting it on an Excel spreadsheet. And I was like, oops.
mm-hmm.
I made them look bad, but I'm like, I didn't know y'all was slacking.
Exactly. Filmation, they say break time. I don't want to break because it's break time. I want to break when I feel like breaking. That's why I was mostly independent.
Yeah.
Throughout in my life, because I didn't I get in a groove. I'm in the groove. Leave me alone.
Right.
And animation is a flow.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get the feeling for that flow of what you're doing, you don't want to stop and go down and all they doing is going outside to take a smoke or going to get a drink across the street at the bar or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't take the studio jobs. And I think out of all my years, I say I spent a year inside of the studio. I don't think I could ever give up the independence and the opportunity to create your own designs and see them move and then see them on TV. That beats anything. That beats working for Walt Disney. I remember one time I was supervising in Korea, and I get this telephone call 3 o'clock in the morning. Guy said he's from Disney Studios. So they wanted me to come and get a position open as a director. I couldn't. You have to have pride in what you. I couldn't leave what I was doing, supervising this job, and run because Disney called.
Yeah.
Sorry, Charlie. Anyway, that was my one work for Disney, and I turned it down.
Yeah, like after I got my so I started my career in South Korea, because I actually taught English first, and then I accidentally got a job at an animation studio in South Korea, and so I got to work on Family Guy, Cleveland Show, Batman: The Brave and the Bold, and Scooby Doo. And so once my first, because that was 2 years out of college, once I got my little name in the credits for my first job, I was like, okay, I don't have to ever do this again. Just pay me at this point. Like, I don't got to work for nobody. I never really wanted to work, for the big names. Like, it wasn't like a dream.
Right.
Because I feel like my peers saw, Aladdin and Snow White and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, how do you do that? And I was just like so good at math that I was trying to become an engineer or architect or something like that. And so I didn't find animation as a career to my senior year of high school. So I didn't spend my whole childhood like, oh my gosh, I want to work for these people. I was a Disney kid, but I didn't aspire to it. So like, I just, okay, my first job, got my name in the credits. Now I'll do animation. Just pay me. I don't care who I do it for.
There you go.
Another thing you mentioned when you were like all on the yachts and stuff like that, I feel like since moving to LA, I'm trying to have the LA experience, not the Hollywood experience, because, I feel like when I was hearing you say that, sometimes people try to hide that they're not helping you by like giving you all this glittery stuff. Like, yeah, let's go here, come here. And it's like, all right, we're still not accomplishing the goal though. So, and do you think I don't notice? But other people are okay with that. And they're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to with all these celebrities and all that stuff. And I'm like, but we're not making money though.
There you go. I had to give that up. It was nice to go in this Porsche. And, that was beautiful. That was sports car. It took off like it was an airplane, It was a very nice experience. But it wasn't making money. It wasn't taking me anywhere. It felt good. And my kids had experience riding out on a yacht and all that. And so you guys had experience kissing goodbye because you got to make some money.
Yeah. Gotta make some money, honey.
Be somebody.
So I'll list out, this is the part where I list out projects you work on. I won't list out everyone, but the idea is like our favorite things that we watched, people who look like us, worked on them. So of course, we know you for on Sesame Street, a stick of butter, loaf of bread, and a carton of milk. You already mentioned Hey Diddle Diddle, Snow Day, I'm 6 years old, the 2 Train, amongst many others. The vegetable soup.
Oh, that was an experience. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Bad Albert and the Cosby Kids, Richie Rich, Little Rascals, the Smurfs, Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, the cartoon Dennis the Menace, California Raisin Show. I feel like telling children we watch like raisins dance now is kind of weird, but California Raisins, Doug, X-Men the animated series, The Tick, a lot of Alvin and Chipmunk stuff,
Wow.
Sonic the Hedgehog, Dumb and Dumber cartoon, amongst other things. So yeah, you've done a lot.
Yeah. The things
You did Ninja Turtles.
Yes. It was my first overseas supervising job
Mm-hmm.
on the Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good experience. My reasoning for going overseas as a supervisor
Mm-hmm.
was because it felt as if I was running my own studio.
Yeah.
The supervisor, and therefore I was a yes, yay, and nay guy. And I used to report back to the American studios pretty much every other day with regard to production, make sure that we was on production, or the imperfections were corrected on the film. I think 15 of my years was overseas supervising different countries. And that was the best part because it kept me out of America. It kept me out of the American studios, and I didn't have to punch in 9 to 5 with those guys.
Yeah. I feel like in America, in general, there's like the black token thing. But when I was working at the South Korean studio, they would show me off, but it didn't feel icky. It felt like I was an international token, but it didn't feel icky like like a black token would feel. And I got to work with a guy, Carl Linton, who was the overseas supervisor for the Cleveland show, who was a black man. Which I didn't expect when I the reason I say I accidentally got a job at the studio is because I actually just went for a tour because I just wanted to see inside of an animation studio, and they were like, "Oh, let's go see Carl." And there was the animation, the 2D animation room, a bunch of cubicles, and at the end of the cubicles to the right, it was a black man. I was like, out of anything that I was gonna see in South Korea, I didn't think I was gonna see a black man. And so we were friends when I worked at Digital Animation.
You mentioned a lot of shows I forgot about.
Yeah.
Shortcakes. And
Did you also work at T. Collins Inc.? Because I know T. Collins is another prominent black animator.
Collins and I was doing a lot of Sesame Streets at the same time. I had my studio and he had his, and I would get a call to animate a project for him. To me, it was another freelance job, and Sesame wasn't paying that much, so I could use the extra income. And I did animate for him, but I never worked inside or sit down inside his studio. The freelance artist, I think I only did maybe 2 or 3 pieces. But T. Collins, I consider the father of black animation, as far as I'm concerned. Because I looked at him as a father. He's an older gentleman. I would do anything for him. He would say, okay. In my book, any day.
Yeah. Also, Bob Tyler, he mentioned that you all went to Ireland and kicked their butt in racquetball.
Yes. We ran the whole studio when I went to Ireland. I went to Ireland for Fred Wolf. He told me that I had to hold production on one, I think it was Ninja Turtles. He said he needed students in Ireland. I had to work with them. We had to teach them the production of animation, which went to Ireland. We had to set up the whole studio.
Yeah.
And we had to complete a half-hour film, which we did. And it appeared on TV, and I met my deadline, and when I went back to California, I went up to the studio, and he promised me if we met a deadline, he'd give me a bonus. So I went up to get my bonus. He said, whoa. I walked out with a couple of $1,000. It ain't wrote to me, buddy. I did what you asked me to do.
Right.
Ireland, I set up a studio with and finished a half-hour production with students,
Right.
art students who just come up to the studio. They were students of animation, so they knew basically what they were doing. But
Mhm.
look at it, make sure it was professional and good enough to get on American television.
Right. I know you got a couple extra pennies.
Yeah.
Give them to me. Your animation studio is called Wantu Animation, which is Swahili for beautiful, and your logo is like the African symbol, new birth.
Yes, it's an award-winning independent studio in New York City. I can say,
Mm-hmm.
and we won a lot of awards.
Yeah. So you were pretty vocal about how Black people will be treated. Like, was that unique? Because I feel like sometimes I interview people and they kind of act like racism didn't exist.
Well, I'll tell you about.
I mean, was it unique to be outspoken? Is what I'm asking.
You need to be outspoken. I remember when I was working on the Spider-Man TV series for Ralph Bakshi in New York. I would have you usually go over to the animator and he explain what he's trying to animate and you pick up a scene, and you have to clean it up and do all the in-betweens for it. So when I went to pick up my work, there's a number of animators that were talking, and they were telling me, why you want to be in animation? Because I want to be. I love it. No, you can get a job at the post office, That's steady work. They pay good. They're trying to get me out of animation.
Mm-hmm.
So walking out of that studio, I didn't mind. I showed them my rear and then left.
Yeah.
It's I don't know too many Black people at that time to even be outspoken, but I was outspoken, and I believe that action speaks louder than words, and I showed my actions by doing what I did.
Yeah.
Whether it's noted or not, I know I did it.
Yeah.
They know I did it. I didn't win. You can't fight the big studios, but I tried.
Right.
They know I was there, that's for sure.
Right. Made your mark.
Yeah. And I'll do it again. I wouldn't do it different. Matter of fact, if I do it again, they better look out because I know the ropes now.
Right. Give your boxing moves.
That's it. Yeah. I was a boxing champion,
Mm-hmm. The rope-a-dope. Some of the work that you produced, your style is a form of kind of limited animation, but still very expressive. So like how did you get so much information and emotion out of like less movement?
Because I had to do everything myself. I didn't have an assistant animator.
Mm-hmm.
Or anybody to do my layouts. I had to do the whole production, and I had a deadline. So that's and you had a budget too.
Right.
Some of the films I did for the electric company, I think I put more into it than I got out of it because they were more animation pieces. Hey Little Little was a little fuller animation. Champion Camp was a fuller animation piece. And your budget pretty much dictates what you might have to do, and not only the budget, but your deadline.
Yeah.
They saying, Jim, because you put more drawings into Hey Little Little, we're going to give you a different budget and give you a longer deadline. No, I had the same deadline and the same budget.
Right.
But I'm willing to put in a little bit more because I wanted to build a sample reel. That was my reasoning behind that. Something that you can show of quality that you did. Yeah, you did the Sesame Street until I found out, okay, I can do a little bit more. And I'll have to work a couple more nights and weekends, but that's cool. Because you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for your pride. You're doing it to put out quality Black animation there for the people.
So it's that proper planning, because I feel like I'm in this space of suggesting to people like micro content, because a lot of people want to create this like feature film or this television show, and it's like if you're doing it for free by yourself, maybe create 15 seconds instead of 30 minutes.
Exactly. Because you could show 50. You can show like Donkey. I got a Bible over there that Donkey and I did for the Soul Train. boys. Anybody see that? How come that was never on TV? Story behind that. But you had to put the quality in. And that's what you showed up financial people. Sometimes you don't even have to do a film. If your work is enough quality,
Yeah.
and the concept is strong enough, you don't have to do any type of animation or financing. They'll finance because they know they're going to get their money back.
Yeah.
Or put your money into your concept and put all it in your creativity, and then go from there. Don't start out, you're going to do a feature film, you can do a half-hour show. That's the concept, but you don't have to do all that to sell it.
Right. I saw like another article where a network vice president who in 1974 told you that Black children weren't considered a significant programming audience. I feel like decades later, even though we got more stuff out, it seems like our society is in a space where if it's white characters, it's for everybody, but if it's Black characters, it's for Black people. Like, when are we going to hop over to the fact that Black characters can be for everybody?
Well, we have to get behind a quality Black production where it's like music. Black music is for everybody. We have to get to a point where, well, you can look at a Disney film and tell us a Disney film. They got a style, and they stick with it. That's there.
Yeah.
We have to get a Black production that has a style and a flavor that nobody else can get them. And it's beautiful and it's respectful. And they are proud of that image that's up on the screen.
Yeah.
Them as Black people. Once we get to that point, someone can create some beautiful characters. Beautiful writers. I hear about so many writers, I don't see them doing anything. All these comic books. Why we got all these comic books, and why don't we get one character and get all those beautiful writers that write these comic books and write a beautiful Black story?
Yeah.
Create something that no one has created yet. That as a studio and make that'll be so different that people accept it.
Yeah.
White and Black accept it. So we gotta think about the quality first. Give Black people some quality and they'll love it. Black people follow because they love it too, because it's cool. We do cool things.
Right, we do.
The way we do our hairstyles and all that. Hairstyles. Go down the street and see white people with the same type hairstyles. They love it. So we should get some animation out there that's different and unique. That I stopped designing for studios because I got some things here that T-shirts and bags and stuff that they put my characters on, and I didn't get it. So once I found out, one time I came from Japan, I was walking up Hollywood Boulevard, and I just looked in the store window. I said, "Holy shit, that's my character on a T-shirt." Not a T-shirt, but a regular shirt like this. So they wanted $72 for that sucker. And I bought it. And I said, "You idiot, you bought something you created and other people are getting the money for." So that's when I said, I'll never create characters for a studio again. And I did.
Yeah.
We have to save those type characters for, like Fat Albert I didn't do Fat Albert, but I did the Brown Hornet with Bill Cosby. And I had a long talk after a meeting. He called together that's when I won all the awards. And there's a telephone call and said, "Bill Cosby's in town. He's having a meeting up on Park Avenue at a Black advertising agency. But you're invited to come up and make a presentation." So make a presentation. Oh my God, I created this little jazz club, and he's on the roof playing the saxophone. And you got all these antennas in the background and whatnot against the beautiful sky. I had that presentation, so I'll bring that. And when I was the last one up to the meeting, and I walk in and got all these white studio owners making a presentation to Bill Cosby. And they had films and they had brochures and they showing them this and showing them that. And I said, "Whoa." So I just opened my studio about 6 months ago and decided I was showing nothing. So after it was over, Bill Cosby left, and the guy that invited me, Tom Eubanks, said, "How come you didn't show your piece?" I said, "He's not interested in that." He said, wait a minute, you sit here, stay here." So I was the last guy he went to. He called Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby came back. We talked about an hour, man. he loved my jazz. You know, I love jazz. I said, I didn't know you love jazz. I don't know that much about you. Aside from Bill Cosby when I Spy. You know. He says, I tell you what, I'm going to finance your film. I said, whoa. He said, you get together me a budget and I'll see that you make this film about this little jazz character. I call him Jazz. I said, oh, wow. I didn't know how I got home that. I think I was on cloud 9. All I know is I woke up the next day. I thought, oh, shit, I got to get together a budget to get the Bill Cosby. I got together the budget. I went to typing service and they typed it up on nice phone. Called this guy back to get it back to Bill Cosby. And he says, okay, come on in and let's talk. I went in. He says, okay, partner. I said, what do you mean, partner? He says, I'm 50% partner with you, ain't I? I said, no, you're not. I walked out of that. Screw you, buddy. So I said, I'll get it to Bill Cosby myself. So that's when I heard they were doing that album series here in California. So I got the address and I finally got the, I don't know if I should say the name, but I got his second in command. And he said, send it to me. I'll get it. But, you know, Bill Cosby's like General Motors, man. It's hard to get to him, but I could get it to him. We talk quite regularly. I sent it to the studio. Months passed. Not months, but it seemed like months. A couple of weeks passed. I called and said, what's up with my presentation? I said, no, give me a little bit more time because Bill, he was in, but I didn't get a chance to show it to him. I said, okay. But anyway, I'm sure he saw it. I'm sure that when they had that opening, they saw it too. But anyway, that never happened. I said, send my shit back. So they sent it back, and I ate that presentation, but it was a beautiful presentation. That's what I'm saying. We have to say something that the other people can't create because they don't know our background.
Yeah.
Have our sensitivity.
Yeah.
Know what's cool. I mean, we dream up stuff cool. And if we're artistic, we could draw that out, paint it out. Cool. And you can't get it unless I give it to you. That's what I felt Sesame Street had to do because if they wanted those characters that I wrote up in the storyboard, they had to give me the production to produce it.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Create something that they can't get from anyone else. And
have you kept up with any of the recent like Black animation content and stuff?
No, I haven't because if it's good enough, I'm going to hear about it. I haven't heard anything yet. So I'm not chasing what they're doing because it ain't up to par. If it's up to par, it'll be out there because somebody can make some money. And you can't tell me how come a group of black guys can't go up to Tyler Perry and get a black animation studio going. You know, inside his facilities. Why not? He has the money and he has the production facilities.
Yeah.
Or he can have it built, an animation studio right there on his grounds. I swear I don't know why somebody didn't do that yet. Guys, girls, get together and get over to Tyler Perry. They can spend some money on some black images in animation. That's one thing they can do. I got a couple of more they can do too.
So you took a break from animation and then you started painting, oil painting and stuff like that. So how has it been to get back to art? Oh boy, I look at painting the same as I look at animation. I had to teach myself. Didn't go to school for it because when I went to school for it, they had me doing other things outside of animating. They didn't want to get into business. They had, I got kicked out too quick. Not kicked out, but I walked out too quick. So when I got to Sesame Street, I had to teach myself. When I got the contracts, I taught myself to be an animator, producer, or director, and a designer. And same thing with painting. I got some paintings here that I did a paint of Martin Luther King on September 17th at the Darlington Historical Museum here in Darlington. They're going to have an unveiling of that painting in the museum. And they're going to have a gem signing night there here in Darlington. There's going to be at least 65 people in the audience. Something coming up, and then in New York, October 11th, the ASIFA back in New York, and have me give a talk there.
And I'm gonna visit a school in Harlem, an animation school in Harlem. I'm gonna give a talk.
Nice.
So I got some things going, and matter of fact, I think I'm gonna start something here in Darlington in the office. It doesn't matter what it is because I can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Animate, paint, draw, whatever. Matter of fact, I'm doing that. Thank you.
I gotta look into because I need to save up to buy one of your paintings because I got 2 Tyler Tots things. I got
Oh wow.
you know, Bob does the African mask, so I got an African mask. So I got it. Oh, actually he gave me 2 paintings. So I gotta add to the animation people like I gotta have one of a kinds in my art collection. So I gotta save up. I gotta peruse your art to see what I'm gonna buy.
Okay, anytime. Good price. No one just give it away.
But I saw a picture of something. I was like, "Ooh, that looked nice." So I gotta contact you, see what I can get. So
Okay, very good. I got a whole wall full in the back and some in front of me.
if someone was to produce a documentary about you, what things would you want them to highlight about your life outside of your work in animation?
Actually, October 7th and 8th, 2 producers are coming in from Washington, talk to me about a documentary.
Nice.
Life. I would say my childhood, because if I can do it, if a guy from picking cotton, cropping tobacco, lived in Darlington, South Carolina, born, raised in Harlem, lived in the projects on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, then worked his way through animation, becoming an award-winning animator, producer, director, designer. Yeah, that's a story. I think my childhood.
Yeah.
Because after, it's nothing like the feeling of doing your own film. Taking a blank piece of paper, creating a concept that no one has never seen before. And no one can create it, produce it, and direct it like you can.
Yeah.
That beats anything. And I hope more young people work toward that.
Yeah.
While you're young. Willing to take some lumps and bumps. But if you get together a little group, it's better to take the lumps and bumps together by yourself.
Yeah.
You could make it. I would love to see a group make it. Go on, do it.
I would like to thank you for allowing me to highlight you. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you. And I thank all the work that you're doing to highlight Black animators, male and female.
Thank you.
You did something that you took something that no one else was doing, and it's beautiful. Thank you.
We gotta prove that we were here, even if
That's
they
right.
don't highlight the same 5 people over and over again.
That's what they got. They think that's it. No, we got more than that.
Right.
Somebody to get up on the third. Get to the gyms.
Right.
Well, thank you, Deb. I appreciate it.
And to everyone out there, I want you to like So I Know It's Real. Comment and tell me how you feel. Subscribe to Zilda Dill. Sign up for post notifications to show your zeal. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Peace.